You know that feeling when someone asks you a simple question, and instead of answering it, you give them your entire life story first. I'm running 5 minutes late, should be 4 words, but somehow it becomes a paragraph about traffic, and the dog, and how you also had to find your keys, and you're so sorry, and it's really not like you, and you promise it won't happen again. Nobody asked for any of that. You just couldn't stop yourself from giving it. If this sounds familiar, you are not just a talkative person. You are not just polite. Psychology suggests something much deeper is happening underneath. The habit of over-explaining is rarely about communication. It is almost always about safety. Specifically, the nervous system's attempt to manage how other people perceive you before they get the chance to judge you on their own. This pattern has a name in trauma-informed psychology. It is closely linked to what therapist Pete Walker called the Fawn response, a survival strategy built around appeasing others to avoid conflict or disapproval. For people who grew up needing to predict a parent's mood, or who learned early that being too much got them in trouble, explaining becomes a shield. If you can justify yourself fully enough, in theory, no one can ever be upset with you. The exhausting part is that this theory is never actually true. There's always another paragraph you could have added. The shield never feels finished, so the explaining never really stops. Here are 8 signs this is you, and the final one is the part almost nobody connects to the others. Sign 1. You rehearse your sentences before you say them. Before a phone call, before a hard conversation, even before a text message to a friend, you draft it in your head first. You consider how it could be misread. You add a clarifying phrase in case the first part sounds harsh, then a second one in case the clarifying phrase sounds defensive. This is not perfectionism about language. It is threat modeling. Your brain is running a simulation of every way this message could go wrong, and over-explaining is the patch you apply in advance, before anyone has even had the chance to misunderstand you. Sign 2. You cannot end a message without softening it. You write something direct, then immediately undercut it. I'd rather not, but no worries either way. I think we should go left, but you know best. Totally your call. The opinion is real. The softening afterward is armor. You are not unsure of what you think. You are unsure of what it will cost you to say it plainly, so you build an exit ramp into the sentence itself, just in case you need to retreat from your own opinion. Sign 3. You explain your reasoning even when nobody asked for it. Someone asks if you want pizza or sushi, and you answer with a short essay about your diet, your mood, what you had yesterday, and why you're not sure. The question required 1 word. You gave them your internal committee meeting instead. This connects to something psychologists call anticipatory anxiety, the habit of trying to manage a judgment that has not even happened yet by getting ahead of it with information, as though enough context could make any choice unobjectionable. Sign 4. You justify your existence in spaces where you take up any room at all. Asking a coworker to move a meeting, requesting a refund, saying no to a plan this weekend. Each of these comes wrapped in 3 sentences of context for why you are allowed to be asking. Underneath this is a quiet belief that your needs are not reason enough on their own, that you have to earn the right to be even slightly inconvenient before the world will tolerate it. Sign 5. You say things twice in 2 different ways, just in case the first version did not land. You explain it plainly, then immediately rephrase the same point with a new example, a new metaphor, a new angle, watching the other person's face for some sign that they finally understood. Often they understood the first time. What they are reacting to in that pause is not confusion. It is simply the normal, brief silence of a person who has nothing left to say yet because you have not given them a turn. Sign 6. Silence after you speak feels unbearable, so you fill it. You say something, the other person pauses to think, and in that gap, you panic. You add more. You clarify what you already said. You explain the explanation. Researchers studying social pain have found that the brain processes rejection in some of the same regions involved in physical pain, which is part of why an ordinary pause can feel disproportionately threatening. Your brain is not being dramatic. It is reacting to ambiguity as if it were danger, because somewhere along the way, ambiguity often genuinely was. Sign 7. The conversation does not actually end when it ends. Hours later, you are replaying it. Did that joke land wrong? Did your tone sound clipped in that one sentence? You compose the follow-up text in your head, the one that adds the missing context, just so the record is fully corrected. Psychologists call this rumination, and it is closely tied to chronic overexplaining, because the two feed each other. You explain too much in the moment because you are anxious about being misread, and then you replay the moment afterward because you are anxious. You still did not explain it well enough. And sign 8, the one that ties everything together. You believe, somewhere below conscious thought, that you will only be forgiven for being human if you can prove you had a good reason. Lateness needs an excuse. A boundary needs a paragraph. A simple no needs supporting evidence, footnotes, and an apology on top. This is the wound underneath all the others. Not a fear of talking too much, but a fear that you are only acceptable when fully explained and quietly unacceptable the moment you are not. Every rehearsed sentence, every softened opinion, every justified request, every hour spent replaying a conversation that already ended, traces back to this single belief, learned somewhere, by someone, a long time before you knew you were learning it. Here is what is easy to miss in all of this. Over-explaining is exhausting, but it is also evidence of something good in you. It usually comes from people who care deeply about being fair, about not causing unnecessary hurt, about leaving no one confused or wronged by their choices. The instinct itself is not broken. It is simply running without a limit, firing in situations that were never actually dangerous in the first place. So let's talk about what to actually do with this, because awareness on its own rarely changes a habit this automatic. The first step is what some therapists call the sentence test. Before you send the message, find the one sentence inside it that is actually the point, and ask yourself if it could stand alone. Usually it can. Everything else is padding added for your comfort, not for their understanding. The second step is to practice tolerating the pause. Say the true, short thing, and then physically stop. Let the silence sit there, even if it feels unbearable for 3 or 4 seconds. That discomfort is not a sign that something is wrong. It is simply your nervous system recalibrating to a kind of directness it never got to practice safely before. The third step is to notice who actually requires the extra explanation from you and who never did. You will likely find that the people who love you best were never the ones demanding 3 paragraphs of justification. They were fine with the 4 words. The extra paragraphs were almost always for an audience inside your own head, not for the person actually standing in front of you. You do not need to stop explaining yourself entirely. You need to learn that a clear sentence does not require a defense attached to it. "I'll be 5 minutes late" is a complete thought. So is "no." So is "I'd rather not." People who are safe to be around will not need the extra paragraph from you. And the ones who would demand it anyway were never going to be satisfied by it, no matter how long the explanation got. If this described you, tell me which sign hit closest. I read every comment. And if someone in your life over-explains everything they say, send them this video, because they have probably never had a reason to stop and ask themselves why.